while the intake's off, now's the time to go ahead and start addressing your oil feed. There's two locations you can typically feed from. The one is the sending unit at the back of the block back there by the cam sensor, and that seals into the block with this big old hole and this crush washer. The second location is over by that where that block off plate is I showed you guys before for the oil cooling. You can drill and tap into that oil block off. Now I could feed one from back here and one from there since I'm running twins, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do them both from back there with sort of a T fitting, something like this or this. This one will have 4, which I can run into the block using a pole, an extension out of here. I'll tell you how to do that in a second, and then I can feed the 2 turbos from the sides. But getting fancy now off the top, this is where you have to kind of make a decision. Do you want the factory oil pressure gauge to function or not? Feeding the oil pressure gauge, this, from the same location where we'll feed the turbos will make the pressure read low. So typically the answer is no, just let that fall dead and go ahead and put an aftermarket oil pressure gauge in and run it to the opposite spot, which would be that block off plate down there, and that would give us, you know, an accurate oil pressure reading. So, but some of you might not want to put an aftermarket gauge in, and you may want to keep your factory gauge. So I came up with a way for that to work. It turns out that this thread pitch on these ends up being the same as one of these fittings I found here. Oh, there we go. So basically what I can do is thread this on. Hold on, get you back on camera in a second. Snug it down, make that nice and sealed. Slice off this, and then go ahead and I found this adapter, which necks down to the same thread as those T fittings and as our oil feed lines. And then I could just braze or TIG weld these two brass pieces together, and voila, a homemade adapter that'll let me go ahead and run the factory oil pressure gauge still. Granted, like I said, it's going to read low, but that's okay. If you want to see it moving, some people are anal that way. I haven't decided which way I'm going to go yet, but either way, in order to feed your turbos with this style thread from the same spot where this thread's in, you have to go on Summit or Jags or eBay, and a couple companies like Mr. Gasket and whatnot make an adapter kit. It's simply an adapter that threads into the block in place of this and necks it down to this. It's for people who want to run an aftermarket oil pressure gauge, and it happens to be 1/8 inch NPT thread, the same as our oil feed lines. So I got to order that from Summit. I'll do that tonight online. Should have that here in a day or two, and then I can actually wrap up that part of the build. Okay guys, so here's what I'm putting together. I've got this extension here that threads into this T. This is going to go ahead and go into the piece that goes into the block, and then we'll go ahead and put the feed line for the passenger side turbo, feed line for the driver side turbo, and then off the top, going with this 4-way here instead of a 3-way, I found this nipple that actually threads right on to the factory idiot gauge or pressure gauge. So what I'm going to do is slice this nipple off here, and I found this piece that'll thread right into the top of this T, and I'm going to TIG weld or braze them two together and make kind of a homemade adapter. So I'll still have functioning oil pressure gauge, although it'll read a little low because we'll be bleeding down into 2 turbos. But at least then I don't have to install an aftermarket gauge, because let's face it, you know, parts truck, shop truck, I don't need to know if it's actually 80 pounds or 60 pounds. I just need to know if it has pounds. That's all. And if I get too worried about it, I can always install an aftermarket oil pressure gauge down by that block off plate. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, get this welded, and show you the final install. Alright guys, so here's what I've come up with. Go ahead and use Teflon tape on the connections. This here's the brazed together adapter to let me put the sensor in. So go into the block. I used a long piece here, that way I could kind of lift it up higher for ease of clearing stuff. And then the feed lines, these babies right here, will thread right in to that. Little Teflon tape on them. And we get the feeds done. I'm going to go ahead and assemble this and put it all together and put it in the truck, and that'll be done. Show you how that looks when it's done. Alright boys and girls, so progress here. Gone ahead and Got the oil feed system done. Right there, you can see it's threaded in, plugged into, so the factory gauge will work. Might read a little low, but it'll work. Okay guys, so we can pick up today with a little more progress. Got some more items. Last night I just kind of started mocking up the downpipe here, getting the right angle to clear everything. That's just on there tentatively. I got the bolts to fasten the turbos down. I've got the Parker push lock stuff for the finish up the fuel line and the drain hoses. Let me show you what Parker push lock is. This is a really strong hose that can be used for anything from fuel to hydraulic. It's really strong. But what's awesome about it, oh, where are the fittings at? Wrong bag. I'm not sure. Oh, here they are. So here's the fittings, what they look like. They have these barbs on them, and when you push these into this hose, it won't come back out. You have to slice it off, so you don't even need to use clamps. So I've gone ahead and decided, instead of using I already had all the fittings from the JS Racing Products oil feed and drain kit, but I mounted the turbos a little high, and that meant the drain hose that comes in our kit wasn't long enough. So figured, okay, since I have to change the hose anyway, might as well just change all the fittings too, which is just, you know, these are still AN fittings. So I got Parker push lock 45s for off the turbos and 90s for off the pan, and those will plug right into the I got the heavier line here, the 5/8, the beefier stuff here for the drain, and then I bought some more 1/2 inch for the finish off the fuel line. And then of course, also while I was there, since they sell them, I bought these little 90s to 90 degree off the top of the turbos, so the oil feed line doesn't have to go at an arc and come up near the hood. Alright, so I got that, I got some clamps, I got some zip ties, I got a bunch of stuff. So we can actually make some progress today. But today's objective is to go ahead and get the oil drains done on the turbos bolted down permanently, the drains, and then the rest of that fuel line to the fuel rail finished up. And then I can start mocking up these downpipes for the exhaust. Ordered a fan for the radiator today. We're going to convert it from the mechanical fan to electronic. And then we're also going to use our a new harness feature I haven't showed you guys yet. Our JS Racing Products plug and play manual to electric fan harness conversion. It's awesome. You basically pin it right into your ECU, connect a positive wire up to your battery, and ground, and plug it right into your electric fans you buy from the junkyard or off eBay, and poof, done. You just have to have somebody set your computer up for it if you have a truck fit computer that was mechanical fan to begin with. But you'll see, as long as you have somebody who can set that up for you and tune it, it's easy. Alright, well, oh yeah, one more thing I want to show you. Another awesome option when it comes to doing simple drains for off of turbos are these things they have out now. These are a lot like the Parker push lock. They're barbs, really nice design. You simply just push the hose right on. So that's something to think of too if you want to do something real simple and simplistic. The reason why I say that is because some of these smaller turbos, when you run the big drain, and depending on how you end up clocking your housing, and this one's going to be an example I'll show you. One of these bolts is dead right where I want, where my fitting goes, so I can't put one bolt back in. That's not a big deal. The housing has like what, 12 other bolts, 15 bolts, so it's not a big deal as long as that bolt don't go through and cause a leak. Sometimes they're drilled all the way through, but if they're not, it's not that big a deal. But by using that push-on style, you could avoid that from happening. And if I had 2 of these, I'd probably actually use them, but I don't think I have 2 of them. Alright, so footage with something to show you. Okay guys, I've been working at it pretty steady here. I got the manifold on finally for the final time. You can see I've wrapped it. I decided to go ahead and wrap the manifold itself too. I didn't do a perfect job at it because I was really just trying to knock some of the heat down. But I went and wrapped up in here real good with all the new stuff in the little dump tube. All done good. You can see I have the brace in there, bracing this to the head. I go ahead and clock the turbo. Remember your drain and your feed. Feed always straight up, drain always straight down. Mocking up the drain now as we speak. See, I got a 45 underneath there. Alright guys, a little progress video for you. This turbo here is officially mounted permanent. and ready to be plumbed for its exhaust and its cold side. The drain is done. You can see her down there curving down. Come over here and give you a better view. There's the drain using the Parker push lock. And then she goes down to the side of the block, or the pan, just like we saw weld the bung in. So the next step is to get the other side, of course, caught up as far as this. I like to keep them somewhat equal. And once the other side's bolted down permanent, plumbed, then we'll go ahead and start fabricating the downpipes. I still have to do finish up the fuel line, so I can go ahead and finish up that segment. You know, of course, we're moved ahead here to a new segment already, just kind of overlapping my videos. What was I going to show you guys? Oh yeah, remember how I said with the fittings down here, sometimes you gotta leave a bolt out? Well, as you see in there, I had to leave one of the bolts out because it would have hit right on that fitting. The only way that would have worked is if this would have been clocked between bolts, and I wanted to come out this way and come right down through here to the intercooler, so that wasn't going to happen. But anyway, that's no big deal. One bolt missing is not going to hurt anything. Let's see what else. Oh, I got zip ties, so I got the spark plug wires all zip tied up nice and away from the manifold. Ran down around. Use extra long ones on this side. That side's going to run the stockers. And that's it. We'll pick up some video footage with the other side all caught up. Okay guys, this turbo is mounted permanent and its drain is ran. I'm going to go ahead underneath the truck now with the light and try to show you guys where they ran and how they ran them. So give me a second to get under here. Okay, let's see. Can you see them from here? Alright. Really hard to see it when I go underneath her foot. There we go. There's that one. And then there's that one. All ran downhill. Remember, drains always have to run downhill. They can never turn and go back uphill, or even go straight across, or you risk a block up or a back up. Okay. Alright. So, with that part being done, I can literally start doing the downpipes now, or the exhaust section. I mean, technically I should finish up here first, but I'm waiting on pieces. I don't really want to be held up any longer. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and run the downpipes. Because once the exhaust pipes are done, then I can figure out how the harness needs to be routed. The heater hoses over here we need extended and ran, because the downpipe has right away. When you're doing a turbo kit, especially one of our universal kits like this, where you're in charge of fabricating a lot of the pieces, you got to remember and kind of decide who gets priority, who has the right of way, and the other guys got to be compromised. They have to make their way around. So when something absolutely can't be moved, it has right of way. If there's a couple things that can both be moved, you got to decide which is the easiest, which one will be more straightforward, and if there's a performance impact. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and start doing downpipes on both sides, get them down to somewhere down by the oil pan, and I'll call that done. And then we'll switch back up here to doing all of this part. I have some 3-inch V-bands on the way, so once I get the downpipes ran down by the pan, I'll actually be able to make detachable exhaust. Then the downpipes will each come off on each side in one piece, you know, without having to take a whole long section apart. Alright, let me pick up the video when I have something more to show you. Alright guys, just want to show you this downpipe's done. I just got to take it out and tack it up now. See how I did a 45 here, 45 there, and a 90 down there. Clears everything. The only thing that even comes close to touching is this little aluminum tin tray back here for the drip catcher. And that'll be an easy bend. Once the downpipe's out, I'll whack that with a hammer. Give a little dimple there. But it's away from the frame, the block, the lines. And it ends up shooting straight. Let me show you this. Ends up shooting straight out right there. And I got the straight exhaust pipe there. It runs to the back of the truck that I was using for mock-up. So, trick is now to undo it here and see if this thing can be fished out in one piece before I go ahead and weld it all up, because I might have to make it two pieces. I honestly don't see a spot that's real easy to get to except for right here. A bit of V-band right here. But I'm going to try to see if this sucker can be taken in and out in one big piece. And then I'll make it a V-band joint right down there where it's ending. Alright, let me get that out of there and weld her up. And this side will be done. Alright guys, so got the downpipe out. Sure enough, she fishes right out of there. This side's not that bad. The other side I'm kind of fretting here. That's what it ends up looking like. A little bit of a twisty poo. Once I weld these joints up and wrap it in some header wrap, it'll look pretty sweet. And then we'll jump to the other side. I'll pick up with showing you the finished product. Alright guys, so here's both downpipes finished and wrapped. Kind of unique shapes a piece because of the way they have to go. I terminated them both in a slip joint. And this is using those that piping I told you about off Summit. This is the 3-inch. It's called a Universal Rod Builder Kit, something like that if you Google it. Getting a bunch of different sizes. So yeah, the downpipes are done. I'm going to go ahead and actually bolt them on now. And then we're going to start putting the nose of the truck back together so we can start on the intercooler stuff. So this will bring us to the end of how to do the downpipes. And I'm going to go ahead and actually make tabs to bolt them down fast to the side of the block down there. By tying everything in and making it rigid to the motor, it'll help with vibrations and any issues with possibly causing cracks or anything like that. It's called resonance. And anytime you can resonate at a frequency of a given object, you can shatter it no matter how strong it is. So the less chance of having any resonation, the better.